Hello, everyone. Welcome. Welcome to What the Effie, where we look to meet interesting people, learn new things, and put things to practice to grow. Thank you for joining me today. I have Erin Moore with me today and her awesome puppy.
Sammy.
His name is Sammy.
Yeah, Sammy.
That's my grandbaby's name. I love
He's
it.
a good guy, kind of always with me.
Of course, of course. Well, Erin, thank you very, very much for being my guest today. I am very honored. Thank you.
Well, I'm honored too, Effie. Thanks so much for taking the time to spend some time with me. And I always enjoy our chat, so I'm looking forward to today.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, there's a lot to cover, so I'm going to jump in. And I'm going to jump in where I usually do, which is kind of at the beginning
Okay.
of your life. So, talk to me about where did you grow up? Did you have siblings? If so, how many? What did mom and dad do? Talk about the early years.
Okay. I grew up in a great family. My family is very, very close knit. We all have a really close relationship. I have two younger siblings, a brother and a sister. They're both married with three kids each. So I've kind of got all the nieces and nephews. And so spend a lot of time with them. But I grew up primarily in Lubbock, Texas. We did live in the Pacific Northwest for a few years, which was amazing. And then we moved back to West Texas through my dad's job. He was transferred there and then transferred back. And so, yeah, we just grew up
Where,
in a
where did you live? Okay, so Lubbock, Texas. That's awesome. You're a Texan.
yes, ma'am.
But you also said Pacific Northwest, just because I'm from
Vancouver,
Vancouver.
Washington.
Where were you?
Vancouver, Washington?
And I'm Vancouver, BC.
Vancouver, BC. It's so beautiful.
Vancouver, Washington is also very cute.
It is.
It's just so much smaller.
Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah. So for those of you who might not know, Captain Vancouver was a captain of long ago that liked to give beautiful places his name.
His name.
So there's a Vancouver, Washington in the US, which many people don't know of because it's considerably smaller. And then there's Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada, which is much larger and more people know about. And he also named Vancouver Island and blah, blah, blah. But this is not a history lesson. It's just coincidence that we both spent some time in a place
In
named
a
Vancouver.
Vancouver. Yeah.
So when you were just a little kiddo, like in elementary school, were you living in Texas then?
Did elementary school in Vancouver. So we were there from first to sixth grade. And then I did seventh grade in Lubbock all the way through high school.
Okay. I'd like to know a little bit about elementary school. How would your teachers have described you?
Rambunctious. I kind of
Yeah.
bucked the system and didn't. It's interesting that you asked me that, Effie, because I had my sixth grade teacher had an assignment for us that was a few weeks long, and we did. It was kind of when the internet was just coming out. I'm on that side of the generations, so she had some direction, but not a lot, and it was kind of come up with what we wanted to out of this theme that she had given us. And I guess I kind of, from what I remember, went pretty rogue on what my ideas were, which was just outside of the box of what she had in mind. And so I got into so much trouble for it. And she actually met with my parents. Her name was Mrs. Kirkland. She met with my parents and told my parents that I was never going to be successful and that I would never amount to anything. And so I know, just a little girl, just a little child.
Why? What did she say? Talk about air and you talked about killing everybody or what?
No,
What
if
was so fanatical that she went
thinking
off
she
the
was
deep
it was a
end?
geography teacher and she was wanting us to explore traveling to different places. And so I actually went and pursued different cruise lines of how you could have the transportation to get to different places, which is funny because then I now have a background in transportation. And so it's interesting the way that things play out, but that I thought it through much more deeply. And I think that that was because, I did have the opportunity to be fairly well traveled as a child. And so this concept of going places, but not talking about how we're getting there, I think caught me up. And so she wasn't happy, but my parents
Wow.
didn't
I
care.
am very surprised. I'm very surprised. I think it's awesome that you were thinking outside the box.
Yeah.
That is, in my opinion, the greatest strength of Americans, thinking outside the box.
Yeah.
That's what's gotten in American history them to me moving forward. So
Right.
you would think that ingenuity would be, I'm surprised,
Well
but
received.
okay. All right. And what about high school? What kind of activities did you do? Hobbies, sports were you in?
So I did speech and debate in high school and competed both on a high school and college level in speech and debate. Then I also was just very involved in like honors classes. I played varsity tennis. So I was pretty busy girl in high school, stayed really busy with all of my activities and got in a little trouble on the side and, just all of the things that high schoolers do, but overall very well rounded. And I had, like I said before, a really strong family base, and so, I had a lot of leadership within that to develop into who I am.
I think that's great. I think that's awesome. When you were in high school, what did you want to be when you grew up?
It's funny that that you ask that. I don't necessarily I kinda wanted to be a lawyer is probably the closest to what I wanted to be, but I really hadn't super decided. I thought about being a doctor. School always came really, really easily to me, but then I hated biology, so then that was out.
I remember I wanted to be a doctor too, until we had to study, you know, dead bodies.
Yes. Yeah. Well, and then another interesting thing is I don't know if I mentioned this to you, but that also a pilot, and I spent some time and did another interview that someone asked me, was that something that I always wanted to do when I grew up? And my answer was that that's not something that they told little girls that they could do when we grew up. And so that's another thing that, had I thought about that, then I probably would have pursued or known that would be an option in my lifetime, pursued that.
I think that's fantastic. I did notice that you were a pilot or are a pilot, and I would like to talk about that a little bit, but not quite yet. And I think it's pretty awesome that you allowed yourself and that your background allowed you to step into arenas where maybe the gender factor wasn't there yet,
Yes,
you
ma'am.
know? Yes, I think that's awesome. So, what were your first few jobs? Well, wait, what did you go to school for? What did you go to college for? And
So I went to school for communications. I actually have a zillion credits and never graduated. So I like to every few years go back and take some more college courses that more pertain directly to applicable knowledge. But most recently I was in school to be a pilot. There's a couple different pilot programs. One is through the education system, and I was doing that until I just had a few life changes, and then also getting deeper into real estate, which changed the trajectory of things for me. So that was the most recent. I have enough credits to probably graduate a couple times over, but really I just use education more so to be the applicable foundation of areas that I'm wanting to improve.
that's very good. I started my degree at University of British Columbia in education, and after I was married, my husband was a year and a half ahead of me. And he was a mining engineer. So off we went to Rocky Mountains, to dig up the Rockies. I'm like, wait, what about my education? He's like, okay, we'll go back at a different point. And we did go back, but we didn't go back to UBC because he didn't think it was good enough for him. Anyways, long story short, we went to Boston because he was accepted at the Harvard Business School. And I said, hey, Harvard Business School. Okay. My husband's smarter than I thought. I was like, what's good for the goose is good for the gander. Let's go.
That's
And I thought,
amazing.
I'll finish my degree there. I only had just a little short of 1 year to go. But at
Hmm.
that time, I didn't know that very few, no, none at that time, universities would give you a degree with their name on it had you not put in at least 2 years worth of credits.
Okay.
So I put in 2 years worth of credits in a year and a half to kind of cut the cost. So
Hmm.
like you, I have so many, it's a 4 year degree that I have 7 years of credit for. It was crazy. But I
Yeah.
got stubborn after a while. I was like, I want the frickin' degree.
Hmm.
And did what I had to do to finish it. But it was kind of, I wish I could have done what you did to just go where my total interests were because they do change over time.
Yeah. One, it's nice as area 4.0 and have been able to maintain, just a perfect grade point average. So that's been exciting that as I've pursued this, probably could look into scholarships or something, but time.
Yeah, enough. Let's go. Totally get it. Totally get it. So then you started to work. Talk to me about your first few jobs before you got into real estate.
Yeah, so I mean, I started working when I was really pretty little, when I was 15, and I worked for an orthodontist. That really taught me a large degree about work ethic and getting your hands dirty. Because I was doing most of the cleaning as far as the utensils and kind of the things that they needed to be cleaned, which was not it was kind of a yucky job. But I was paid more than minimum wage, $2 more than minimum wage, and it gave me a good opportunity to get my feet wet in the working world and realize what is needed in order to be successful. And then my next job, I worked for Rockport Shoes, which was a commission based job and provided some
That was
sales
on commission
opportunity. Mm-hmm.
in a shoe
Yep.
store?
Yeah, my shoe store was it was like $2 an hour plus straight commission.
I'd never heard of that in a shoe store,
Yeah. And so
but
I
I've
was just
definitely heard of Rockports. I've had them.
yeah, I was just
Interesting.
a little thing in high school, and I maintained that job until I graduated. I had a couple other jobs that I worked at the same time, an ice cream shop, and I waited some tables. And then I kind of did a stint in bartending and waiting tables as I was getting a little bit older. And then in 2008, I became a flight attendant for Delta.
Well, you did. Is that where your love for flying started?
It is where my love for flying started. I think I've always had a love for traveling, and so then that really provided an awesome opportunity for me. I was based in New York City out the gate, and I had never been on a train or a bus, so that was pretty interesting to be so young and trying to navigate a humongous city all by myself and this career that's suddenly in your lap. And so yeah, it's been amazing. I'm still with Delta. I only fly a couple days a month as a flight attendant, and, I've
Is
been to
that to
50.
keep up your benefits?
Yes, yeah, it is. Yeah, and
Nice.
I'm only a few years away from retirement with that, which will provide me, lifetime flight benefits, but I've been to 54 countries in every state except Maine, so it's been
Oh
really
my
incredible as
God.
far as the opportunities that it's provided me.
54 countries. Have you been there long enough to actually experience them?
Yeah, so typically we have anywhere from 24 hours to 5 days when we're out of the country, and it just depends on the flight schedules, but, you can't ever see everything, but you can always see something.
I envy you.
Thank you.
That's awesome.
Well, we
That's
should go out of
really,
town
really
somewhere together.
yes. I mean, you know what? Traveling is one thing that I haven't done enough of. Um I really wanted to travel. And because my husband graduated from the Harvard Business School, we had money. So we
Mhm.
did travel. Got to go to South Africa, to Paris, to,
Uh,
a couple of different countries
those
that
are
I
a couple
really
of my favorites.
yeah, a couple well, it was interesting. Swaziland, Lesotho, things like that. But not I guess once we started having children and then years later divorced, I didn't get the travel out of me that I want.
Yeah,
So that's one thing that I still think is ahead of me
good. Yeah, I love that.
because I do think that people don't travel enough.
Yes, I
The
agree.
more you travel and the more you get to hear different opinions and see different ways of life, I think the wiser you are and the more you can appreciate everything.
Yes,
Everything that they have, everything that you have, your freedoms, their freedoms or lack of freedoms, whatever, it's a very interesting thing.
I think
So
so.
good for you. And I
Thank you.
often have thought that what we really need now, I don't know what's going to happen with education with the AI coming in and stuff, but I've often thought that if in high school, the year in grade 11, all children were obligated, all families were obligated to send their child to a different country and receive a child from a different country, like a homestay. So let's
Mhm.
say you went to Switzerland and it could be the same family that you take their child or another child. But if the children of the world did a year of education in a different country, and as Americans and Canadians, we accepted people from the world, I think that would make a really cool world.
I think so too, and just give people a broader perspective of what's really out there. It's pretty easy to live in your own bubble.
Exactly. Now, America's a pretty neat bubble because it's particularly enriching, but still, I agree. I think getting out and seeing more is awesome. So, when did you decide I'm going to fly my own plane?
You know what? I got kind of bored. I realized pretty early on that the job is Cokes and Smiles, and that's great, but, I just felt understimulated as far as education was concerned, and so I decided I was gonna become a pilot, and so from that, I had never flown a plane, I just put the money I had some money saved, I put the money down for school and just went and dove in head first, and my first day was literally my first day, ready or not, here we come, like it or not, we're doing it, and I ended up loving it and being very good at it as well.
What do you fly? What kind of planes do you fly?
I primarily fly an aircraft called the DA-40, it's the Diamond Aircraft 40. It's just a little
The only
single
ones I know
engine.
are Cessnas. They're the only ones I
They're
know.
similar to Cessnas, yeah, it's a similar.
And when you fly, do you fly for your own pleasure, or is there any kind of a purpose on it besides your own, which is very worthwhile?
So I'm still pursuing slowly towards my ratings. Um, but for the most part, as I was doing that, I realized that I wanted to get into real estate if I was going to be making pilot money. And so I started pursuing some opportunities in real estate to be learning about that. And that translated to opportunities that really financially provided for me in a way that being a pilot would. And so then I kind of realized that, yes, I love to fly and will always fly, but that my true passion is in real estate.
How cool. Okay, so let's talk about it. When did this happen? And when did you join Sub 2? Talk
Okay.
about your first few steps.
Okay. So I got into real estate during 2020. Delta offered which I was still in flight school during this time, but Delta offered a year and a half unpaid leave. And so I took that unpaid leave from Delta and got my real estate license, which, I don't necessarily know that I would recommend that for everyone now that I'm down the road and into the investment world. But at the time, it felt like based off of my knowledge, this is what I should do. And I'm kind of a linear thinker, Effie. And so, okay, what's the next logical step? So for me, that was to get my real estate license. And so because I wasn't flying for Delta, but I was still in school, I just kind of dove head first in and made myself successful in real estate and, incorporated myself in different masterminds. And one specific mastermind that I was in, I met Cody Barton because he was in the same mastermind, which was a little bit funny because this mastermind, you had to be making a certain amount of money in order to be in real estate, in order to be in this mastermind. And so the guy that runs this mastermind, I spoke with him and talked him into letting me join even though I hadn't made a penny in real estate yet. And so then
That's
provided
funny. You used your charm.
provided some opportunities for me to sit at tables that I wouldn't have otherwise sat at, but and brilliant minds like Cody Barton. And so Cody was
That's
just in the
incredibly blessing.
yeah.
A wonderful blessing.
Cody was just in the early stages of working with Pace, and that was before Subto had been launched. And so that's kind of how I got my introduction into Subto, and then I ended up joining about a year later.
How interesting. Very interesting indeed. Were uh, Cody and Pace working together? They were,
They were
probably.
working together, yes, and they were just doing kind of the entry level of exploring wholesale from what I understand. Doing some creative financing, but the premise of it was still really, really early on of them working together. And actually, Cody working for Pace for free in order to be learning from Pace.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Yeah, I've heard the stories. I've heard about how Laura thought that Cody was not good news.
Yeah.
At the very beginning, it's like, okay, what are you guys doing? Where are you? I totally get it. And it's pretty interesting. I love that they started off and worked so hard at the very beginning together.
Yeah.
And now they've grown so much and, they're kind of going their own ways, but what a fantastic story of growth.
Yeah. A season.
Yes, yes. And so you first started off as a real estate agent. So you were just showing houses originally, right?
Yes, ma'am. So I mostly worked on the selling side, which
Okay.
taught me a lot about my interest in real estate investment because I learned pretty quickly that I don't really love selling. And so I would much rather be on the buying end, which is how I found my focus of acquisitions.
Good job. Good job. All right. So after you went to this mastermind, You went back with a little bit more information, especially about creative, I imagine, huh?
Right. Not so much creative. This mastermind was more geared towards just being real, a top agent, really, really successful in the scope of being a realtor. And at that time, Cody was also a realtor, if I remember correctly.
Wow.
And so we just had some commonality and mutual interest within this group of people who many of them are still close friends of mine. And yeah, and so it just developed, I don't want to make it too sad, but my transition into sub 2 was really out of necessity. My mom passed away and she acquired really an exponential amount of medical debt in a very short amount of time. And without to get too encumbered into that, there wasn't a lot of options for us to be able to figure it out with the company that she had a health reimbursement plan with. And so I just realized I've got to be doing something else. I've got to be, yes, buying and selling houses as a real estate agent is reliable, but it's very market fluctuating and you're putting, your blood, sweat, and tears and spending a lot of time that I don't necessarily know that it's the best value for my time if I can be doing what other people are doing successfully in a different way.
Very sorry to hear about your mom.
Thanks, Epi. She was the very best.
That's wonderful. That is wonderful. And I'm glad that you could at least get something out of it in the way of what could help you make your life better.
Yes.
Understanding, like, I didn't have to worry about that in Canada. I had, after my husband went to the Harvard Business School, we stayed here. I'm an American citizen and
Mhm.
my daughter was born here and, my son was born in Canada, but still, in the States, you worry about health benefits, not in Canada. So I never had to worry about that. But I think on it now. I think
Yeah.
on it now because one of the reasons I'm really looking to do what I'm doing is so that I can retire my daughter, who, yeah, she's expecting her second child. And,
Mm.
life is very expensive if you're not, well, it's expensive even as an employee and not as an employee. But the health expenses are paramount here.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So, um, when you started to look into acquiring and building, what were your first few steps that you took outside of being an agent?
This is the fun part for us to talk about. So, when I got into Sub 2 was when Pace was really focusing on the driving for deals. And that was when SMS was a little bit different than it is now. And
Right?
so his encouragement was to get out and drive for deals. And it seemed like save like 100 houses and door knock the ones that are really bad and leave a note on those too. And then start calling people and just having conversations. And so that's really where it started out for me, but then I quickly realized, that sending text messages and calling and all of these things that came at an expense before I was really bringing money in. And so then I got the idea that, well, what if I drive for deals and at the same time drive Uber and Lyft? And so then Uber and Lyft will put me
What?
into neighborhoods that I might not ordinarily ever find or be in or know about. And then I can be covering a lot of ground, but also be making money while I'm doing it. So having just passive in a way because I was busy doing real estate and then just bringing this money in and meeting some people and so it's actually interesting some of the opportunities that that's provided me from, talking and networking to meeting the governor to I had a lender who lended me 6 figures that was a passenger in my car and I kind of told him what we were doing. And so just like a lot of really cool opportunities that provided me in that chapter of meeting people and getting out there and really getting my feet wet. But then also at the time that was covering basically all of my expenses. So that really put me ahead. And I know that there's a lot of people who start out in sub 2 and they're like, oh my heck, I broke and what do I do now? And
Yeah. Yeah. You
my
can be,
recommendation is get in your vehicle and go drive for deals and drive Uber and Lyft until you
yep.
get it going.
Yep. A couple of things come to mind on that, Erin. I can't help but think of your sixth grade teacher. There she
Yeah,
goes again. She's frickin' thinking outside the frickin' box. What's the
yeah,
matter with Erin? How genius, how ingenious was that? That you could have two birds with, one stone, so to speak, and that you even thought of it. That's great because too often people don't think about it. And then they get what I call 90 to death, because they need $99 a month for lists and $99 a month for CRM and $99 for skip tracing and $99 for this. And before they know it, they're like, I thought I was going to make money. What happened?
Yeah.
So you do need to look for ways to keep money coming in. Don't give up your W-2 or be creative as you were, and get outside your comfort box. But the other thing that's really cool is that you were talking to people and that you actually had a lend from somebody who you were transporting.
Yes. So I drove him and, just got to kind of talking about what I was doing and that, yeah, it puts me in these little neighborhoods and I find houses and sometimes I turn it off and go and talk to people. And I also bought a house from a passenger. I dropped her off and she had a really distressed property and I ended up buying her house. So,
Seriously.
yeah. So, I mean, it's
Oh
just
my God.
kind of crazy if you just follow the way, for me at least, it's the way that the Lord provides the right people and the right opportunities. If you just follow your intuition and follow his guidance, then for me it's just incredible the way the places you can wind up.
Yeah. I'm just amazed that from driving to be able to drive for dollars or deals, that you bought a distressed property
Yeah.
from a passenger, that you got a loan from a passenger. I'm like, wow, that really is serendipity. That's just fantastic to think that you can do that. And it also improves what you were already very good at in the communication skills that you had
Yeah.
been studying all along and that you're a natural with, obviously. Wow. I'm very impressed. Good job.
It's funny, Effie, is I'm really good at extroverted jobs, but I'm actually deeply introverted. Like these are jobs I'm quite good at them. But in my real personal life, I'm pretty introverted. So the time that I'm not working and talking to people, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna read a book and close all my windows.
Yes, I'm familiar with that myself, having been a teacher and, I had students who were, knocking down the door to get into my classes and stuff like that, and they always thought I was very outgoing, and I
Mm,
am somewhat, but it tires me.
yes, I'm the
So
same.
I need to regenerate, and I think I'm more of an introvert than people feel. So
Yeah.
I do know that one. I need a time to, yeah, to just, have to myself.
Yes.
And I'm
Quiet.
glad you got your puppy dog because that goes a long way.
Yes.
I had my kitty for a long, long time, but after 17 and a half years, he's passed, and I'm almost ready to get another one. But,
Good.
it's been long 'cause,
Yeah.
I miss him so much. But, yeah, I do understand that concept for sure.
Well, and
So,
Sammy with me all the time. So he's 14, but I just tell him he's 6.
well, the thing about dogs, I've never been a dog owner. My daughter is, and, I know a lot of other people, but I've never owned a dog. But it seems to me that dogs do show their age, whereas cats don't.
Right.
Zorro looked, I mean, everybody would ask me, what is he, a year old? And I'd be like, no, he's 12, no, he's 15. He just didn't show his age until,
Age gracefully.
yeah, well, it just they don't they seem really, really good until they're not, and then they go down
Mhm.
real fast.
Yeah.
So, that's the downside. At least with dogs, you have a bit of a chance to get them more help, because
Right.
they show it more. But it is what it is. I'm still very, very grateful that I had him in my life. That's for sure. Anyhow, so tell me when you started on the acquisition, besides when you did these kind of things, when you were driving with Uber and Lyft and you were looking at the stressed properties, were they creative or were you buying them cash in the traditional sense?
Both. I pretty much dove in headfirst as far as learning about creative finance and understanding it. Morby Method was based off of and founded off of one of my deals with Pays. And
Really?
so, uh-huh, that's where Morby Method.
Wow. Wait a minute. Let's take a couple of seconds here to rehear that. Say that again and tell us a little bit about it.
Yeah, it was a property that we found in Utah and presented to his team, and he and Laura were looking for a property in Utah at the time to be in because they've got quite a bit of family here and then also run as an Airbnb part-time, and the HOA on this little townhouse worked out well for that as well. But she was wanting a pretty high down payment, more than Pace was really wanting to do, and then that's how he came up with Morby method, was off of my property.
That is fantastic.
Yeah.
Wow. You really are an OG.
Been here a while.
Well, it's funny because I'm not sure if I mentioned to you, but my company, Sunshine Capital Partners, and my partner and I are doing only double closes and Morby methods.
Great.
So I'm so impressed that Mr. Morby started the Morby methods with a property of yours.
Yeah. Well, it was a fun, interesting learning process, and just as we navigated that, and really it was pretty awesome to see his team at work on that one, and kind of the ways that I was pretty it was pretty early on for me. So in the ways that I wanted to grow, and actually having kind of an inside look of, oh, this is what this success at this level is looking like operationally.
Yeah,
So
that's great. That's great. I tend to, I came along at 2022. So considerably later than you. So it's one thing to see them already knowing and having contracts, and they still adjust the contracts, but bringing in
Mhm.
their lawyers once in a while. I hadn't really thought about how did they crack it the first time.
Right.
To be there then, I think that would have incredible value. That's awesome. Very nice. So do you have a lot of sub twos? Do you work on sub twos also?
We do, yeah. Anytime I have an opportunity to do creative finance, both on the retail side and on the investment side, I do. Based off of Subto, have been able to help a lot of people who otherwise wouldn't have been successful in the purchase or sale of their home as a realtor be really successful by using my foundation in creative finance. And then they tell their friends. So
It works.
yeah,
And it is legal.
yeah.
Now, talk to me about your markets because I was surprised to see that you are in three different markets. Could you tell our audience a little bit about that? And how did you? I think I can see how you chose them, but talk to us about how you chose the markets you're in.
So the markets that we are in, it's actually more than 3, but the ones that we're in, I have a personal association and familiarity to. So it's places that I've lived, places that I've traveled to with Delta quite frequently, and just have like a foundational basis of that city, or the opportunity to be able to learn more and be able to establish. So we're in places that I'm familiar with and that I can have contacts with, friends that are there, and are able to expand in a very specific model in a very specific type of way.
Nice. Now, I've got you down for Utah, Texas, and Florida. Are you in
So
those three areas?
those are our top 3. So in Florida, we're in the Tampa Bay area, Cape Coral area, and then we're also in Orlando and Space Coast, which is like Cocoa Beach, Cape Canaveral. Then Texas, we do Houston, Austin, San Antonio, Lubbock, Midland, Odessa, and Amarillo. In New Mexico, we do Albuquerque, and then we do Phoenix. We do all of Utah. We do Detroit and the kind of the suburbs of Detroit, and then also Anchorage.
All right. So that brings me a little bit to a different subject, but I'm going to hold off for just a second. I can see, isn't it cool that you can actually build businesses, your real estate businesses in cities that serve your interests and what
Right.
you want to do?
Yes. And that was kind of
That's
the
awesome.
goal, Effie, is like, I don't want to do this in places I don't want to be. So let's do it where every time I'm going to see a property that it's a vacation also. That I'm seeing friends or going wine tasting or going to the beach or going salmon fishing, or, whatever it is that my opportunities provide hand in hand, so that I'm just, working really hard but having a lot of life balance.
Yes. And they're all tax write offs too.
Yes.
That is cool. Talk to me a little bit about your business as far as a team. You said we, and I consider myself to be a pretty hard worker, but I'm not as efficient as I will be in the future because there's so many things I don't know. And
Yeah.
one of the things that I haven't done and succeeded in so far is to start building a team in a typical sense. I have the good sense to JV. So, with Sunrise Capital Partners, I'm working with Raz, and he's an awesome person. I have partnered with Abraham. I am partnering with Franco Montano on co living. I know I can't do it all myself in that regard.
Right.
But what I haven't figured out yet, and I think that you may have, so I'd be interested in hearing how you approached it and where you are, is to build a team around myself. Like I know I have to hire an assistant, and I've known it for 14 months. Do you think that I have one? Do you think I know what to do? I feel like spastic. I have no clue. I'd like to know about your team. We've got Erin Moore. Who's around you that you say we?
Okay, so
Who's
it's
the we?
me, and then I partner with Tim Lowe, and he does all of our underwriting, and he is just simply brilliant in his space and in his creativity and in his ability to capture every concept that could potentially need to be thought of to make sure that the deals that we're putting out always work. That was one thing that kind of at the beginning bothered me is it happens to everyone, but you worked for a property and for whatever reason you thought the numbers were going to work and then they don't. And so it's like you're disappointed, your team is disappointed, your wallet is disappointed. But then also for me, the biggest part is these people that you've kind of promised things to, or given, at very least, given your word to, or given a contract to in regards to their property for whatever reason for it to not work out felt really bad to me. That feeling was bad. And so, my focus and goal is that the properties that we work with and the people that we work with, that it's a slam dunk. And so I really wouldn't be in this situation and the success that I'm in without Tim and his ingenuity and brilliance about being able to think of everything and really understanding exit strategies after the balloon, like then what? And so really thinking through these projects long term. So that's one person. And then I do have a virtual
Tell me
assistant.
just a little teeny bit more about him. Is he in sub two?
He's a Subto student. Yeah.
And is he a partner, or do you
He
pay
is a
him for
no,
services, or
so
how does that work?
he and I JV on our properties together.
Well, that's nice.
Yeah.
That's nice.
Because
Okay.
all of the systems as far as the outreach, the marketing, the SMS, the VA team, all of that falls under my financial umbrella, whereas all the underwriting and his systems to underwrite fall under his umbrella. And so we really wanted to make sure that working together, that one, if there was someone else I wanted to work with, that it would be easy and not like cheating on him or but then also that he's brilliant and has the opportunity to be underwriting for everyone who's watching this. Go reach out to Tim, he's brilliant, but the opportunity to work with other people in that space. And so we wanted to kind of keep our intellectual property separate.
Very nice. So you're doing the front end,
Yes.
and he's doing the underwriting and the exit.
Yes, he's planning the exit, and then we do work with several different dispo teams and a lot of our usual buyers who are buying our properties.
Okay. Very nice. All right. So can you break down the front end, your marketing? Have you said some words that I'm like, yeah, I know I should have that?
So I've got a virtual assistants team. um I have two ladies and one gentleman. Mark Henry's been with me for 4.5 years, and he does all of our technology and everything back end. He's really my integrator and the yin to my yang. He's the one that takes
Who is that?
my VA. He's in the Philippines. His name is Mark Henry, and has become like family to me. My VAs have become like family to me. It's just fun and special and important and critical part of my life, of my relationships with them. But we do outbound SMS to absentee lists. So typically the people that we work with have some familiarity with real estate. We're not, it's pretty rare that we run into someone who has absolute their reason to be an absentee owner is from inheriting a property. That's like things like that are more.
Now you've known them for 4 years. What was it like at the beginning? Because this definitely shows my small-mindedness, but I worry about the fact that they are in a completely different country. How do you know how much you can trust them? Like, obviously, you must give them more responsibility now than you did at the very beginning. How did you find them? How did you start off baby steps?
So Mark was working with another sub 2 student. And I had mentioned that I was really needing someone to help me build out my systems. And so that sub 2 student, who's unfortunately not in sub 2 anymore, quit paying his VA, Mark Henry, for months. And so honestly, I scouted him. I said, I'll pay you 100% of the back pay that this other former sub 2 student owes you if you'll come and work for me for full time. And so I gave him all the money that he was supposed to be getting, so he was made whole, and then he came and started working for me full time. But I think that's kind of what
I
it is,
have 2
like,
things to say about that. I love you.
I
That's
love you too.
fantastic. And the second thing is, what a shame that the person who had him did that.
Yeah, I mean, I think that that's a critical component of having a successful VA team is remembering that these are people that you're responsible for putting food on their table. Their kids being able to pay to have a school uniform is your financial responsibility, and building a relationship that bears in mind that, as you pursue success with these people, that you're giving them a raise. If our economy turns to heck, that their economy is a very reflective of ours. And it's like, okay, so what are we going to do? Or when we, moved in the times of COVID and we kind of didn't know what was going to happen, that you step up and really show a lot of leadership towards your VA team. So we just had a State of the Union meeting. Let's talk about everything. And you ask me as many questions as you have about what are we going to do? And like, let's figure it out together. So I think just valuing them. I pay my VAs really well. A lot of people don't like to pay their VAs well because they think that, oh, they'll just collect all the money and save all the money and then take off. And that, you know what? I've seen it. It's happened to us and it's happened. But at the end of the day, I think if you can find the right people who, and you can sense it when they take pride in helping you. They take pride in what they're doing. They don't mind to show up on a Saturday. I make weekends voluntary for them. So if they want to work part of the day on Saturday and Sunday, or none of the time on Saturday and Sunday, or all day on Saturday and Sunday, that they can work. And anytime they want to be off work, they can be off work. I don't care. If I want to be off work, I'm going to be off work. So if y'all want to be off work, you're going to be off work. Or if I'm going to take a day off, like Labor Day, then I'm going to make that a paid holiday for them because I'm not working and I don't want to talk to you nicely. But just because I'm not working and I don't want to show up doesn't mean that you shouldn't get paid.
Right. Their calendars are different. Did the other 2 VAs come through Mark Henry?
They did. They were colleagues of Mark Henry's. Both of them have their master's degrees and are really just brilliant ladies. And so I've been so blessed for the team that I have.
That's awesome. That's really awesome. I've got it somehow. I know
I
I
would
have.
love to help you, Effie. You should just let me help you.
Okay, okay. I will accept your help. I know I need some help. Um, I know I need some help. And I also know this, that when I get to the other side of having built a team where I can take some of the things that are not super critical and that can be done, it will make me a lot better,
Yes.
better. And
Happier too.
the thing that has stopped me has been having no clue where to start, and also the concern on trust.
Okay.
If you're letting them in your business. So, I don't know, I'm not sure, but it worries me, like until I know the person, how do I know they're not gonna, make things worse?
Yeah. And I think a
It's a
critical
mindset problem. It's a mindset problem.
An important part of that is something that I kinda grew up with my parents is that my dad would say, "I inspect what I expect." And so that you're always having eyes, not micromanaging eyes, but oversight eyes, that you're inspecting what you expect and that you have, which you're so good at this, the ability to coach people in their improvement because we're not perfect and they're not perfect and they make mistakes and they make lazy mistakes sometimes. I make lazy mistakes sometimes. Uh, but then going back and thinking like, okay, what can we do to improve this? How can we correct this? How can we correct and continue?
I absolutely love that. I'd never heard it before. I inspect what I expect. I love it. Okay, that's wonderful. That's really wonderful. So, do you have other members of your team, or is it just so I got it? Tell me a little bit more. I've got Mark Henry and the two that he has brought in. I have Tim. I've got you. Is that's the team?
That's kind of the core of us, and then we do JV with other Subto students and also just other contractors and different opportunities that present themselves to us, but as far as, like, the core of our team, yeah, that's us.
That's cool. That's cool. Very, very nice indeed. And when you have gone through building a team, what has been the biggest mistake you made? Like if you could go back, one thing might you have changed or caution people about?
Don't spend money on things you don't have to spend money on. I think it's
Like?
just, like, it's always kind of the shiny next toy of you could be getting, this program is giving you 4 phone numbers for skip tracing, but you could be getting 8, and just think about how much more revenue it's gonna give you if you have 8 numbers instead of 4 numbers, and you're gonna pay twice as much, but that's okay because you're gonna be more successful, and it's not 14 cents a skip trace, it's 28 cents, but and just, like, how quickly we can fall into a cycle of the negative compound effect, right? That we're starting to, like, compound these things that we're paying for and kinda paying for all these different things, and like you said, the $99 that kills you at the end of the day because 'cause you're paying $99 for everything. Like, keep it basic. For me, that's kind of what we do. Like, we pay for our probably our biggest expense is the operations for my employees, my virtual assistants, and then the amount of text messages we send. But our system is so simple that I could replicate it and be fully operational in any market in the nation in 2 weeks
Nice. Good.
without increasing our overhead much at all.
I got it. So keep it simple. Keep it simple. Okay. What advice would you give to someone who's looking to start investing in real estate across multiple states?
Make friends in our community with the people that are there, because there's at the end of the day, you're not gonna be able to do everything, and you can't be anywhere but one place at a time, so build core relationships with the people in that community, specifically that are in Subto is what I would encourage, people who are showing leadership and success in that market, quantitative success.
Yes, I understand that. Show me the HUDs.
Mhm.
Okay, that's good. Do you visit your places?
Not really, no. For the most part, we do everything satellite. We have property management teams that oversee everything, and so, yeah, I mean, I'll dip in and I will visit at the beginning usually. So if there's a property that needs more of my eyes, then I'll fly out because I can just fly out to anywhere I need to be and go and check properties out and spend time. But once we get things going, we really work with trusted contractors and general contractors for our flips. And then we have trusted property managers. And that just kind of becomes into the next section. And then I keep the wheel moving of bringing things in.
Exactly. That's good. Yeah, because you don't want to stay in it because then you're in the job, not
Right,
working on the
right,
business.
right, right.
Okay. And what kind of trends do you see happening in the markets that you're in right now,
That's
particularly
such a
for
good question.
investors?
Yeah, I think that I'm glad that you asked me that. I think we can all agree that the real estate market has cooled off pretty substantially. I think, on one hand, people have the shock factor of 6 to 8% interest rates has gone away, and that's good, I think, because that stagnated the economy as far as the real estate economy pretty significantly when actually those are very normal rates, and it's like these 2 or 3% rates are not normal rates. But one thing that I have noticed is we're seeing a lot of people come up on that 5-year mark where they jumped and bought a house at in 2020 with these great interest rates. And for on average, people keep a house for 5 years. So I think that we're really seeing opportunity for creative finance in the markets that I'm in, even the slower markets like Cape Coral, not a great market. We know it. We are really specific on what we will and won't buy there. But there's a lot of opportunity right now to purchase homes creative with those lower interest rates because people are hitting that statistical 5 year and they're ready to transition into something different.
Interesting. Interesting. So even though there are more properties coming on the market and more foreclosures happening and such, you still think bullish on buying.
Yes, I like buying. I don't love to sell, and you just have to be more careful with your numbers. You know, you have to be able to anticipate the trend a little bit, be more careful with your numbers, be conservative and simple, like I said before, with your finances. And I can't remember who said this, but someone told me that money is infinite. It's infinite. And so it really doesn't matter what happens. Real estate transactions are abundant in any market.
That's true. That's true. I agree with that. I agree with that. So in the next couple of years, what part of real estate do you think is the most promising that you're going to be watching?
Well, I'm personally excited to attend Pace's RV meetings that start today. I think that that's something that my partner and I have talked about and kind of explored, and we just love to travel so much. And so, an opportunity to buy RV or mobile parks would be really a cool opportunity. I personally also want to do some exploration in storage. I think that as we see houses trend smaller and people having to, live in a more of an economy styled lifestyle, that the utilization of storage units is going to increase. And so I really think that people have stuff and they don't want to get rid of stuff. And if the economy won't let you buy a 2 bedroom or rent a 2 bedroom and you have to get a storage unit, let me be the one that provides it to you.
Really like storage units myself. I think storage units are a very interesting thing, especially since you can run them with very few employees.
Right.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, at some point, I should take the time to show you something that I saw in my Vancouver that I thought was brilliant.
I would
And
wait,
keeping in my mind,
are we gonna fly there and go see it?
oh my God. See, you can fly so easily.
Yeah,
I might just say yes. I might just say yes on that. I
you do.
crave seeing Vancouver. I miss it. I miss it.
We'll do it together, Effie.
That could be a lot of fun. Could be a lot of fun. And yeah, that would be a great way of getting to know more about this particular thing. I'll show it to you first at another time,
Yes, perfect.
and maybe we can do that. We'll see. All right. So I want to ask about your personal philosophy because you also had Anchorage on your list.
Yes.
And I'm like, oh man, the only reason people go to Anchorage or, northern BC and stuff is because of the fishing usually.
Mhm.
And I started to realize that you really do prioritize how you live. Like you said, you can go to cities that you like, and, I can hear and understand why RV parks would be of interest to you. Talk to me about your connection with food and mindfulness and business success and fishing and being a pilot. I mean, your life is magical.
Thanks, Evie. It's funny. My partner is like, every day, I feel like you have another life that I learn about that I didn't know this about you. So it's kind of just a little bit of a running joke. But I have just been really privileged to have the opportunity to experience a lot of things and experience a lot of life. And I think that is something that I prioritize. Is you know I love to eat great food and I love to cook. Part of that is making sure that I'm having time at home and I'm not always gone away from the house, but that you know, I love to fly to Europe and source my groceries as much as I can out of Europe because their food is better and
How do
just
you do that, girl?
well, if I'll just work a Europe trip and bring my grocery bag and fill up my grocery bag. You can't bring produce over and you can't bring meats over, but you can bring cheeses and pastas and anything. You can bring canned produces. So like pasta sauces and olives and just anything you can think of really outside of lettuce and tomatoes that I just bring back and I try to source those things through my kitchen. And so I think that my philosophy in life, I don't know that anyone's ever asked me that. Probably to find the ways to live well in the like as much as possible. Just live well.
Yes. Yes, I can fully agree with that. And I love the fact that, you're making it such a priority and that's what you chase. That is your life.
Yes. Yeah, I do
Nice.
agree with that. Opportunity, and it might be, oh, well, we want to go, we're going to spend Thanksgiving in Dallas to see the Cowboys and the Chiefs play. And that's just what we want to do. Or fly, Kelly and I fly across to Detroit to go see our family, and just wherever we can find a place to be that, because I can work from anywhere, but wherever we can find a place to be that's really living life to the fullest.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you go do much fishing?
Oh, yes. That's my favorite thing to do. I
Yeah.
love to fish. So, yeah, any opportunity I have to fish, I love to deep sea fish. And then I've salmon fished both in the Pacific Northwest and then also up in Alaska. And we fish in Florida really frequently, almost weekly.
What kind of fish do you get in Florida? Sorry to ask, I don't
I
know.
like to deep sea fish, so like grouper, snapper. We catch some cobia, mahi, and then also we fish off the bank sometimes when we're just in the mood to toss a line out. And we went tarpon fishing this year, which was really incredible. And so, yeah, we've done some great fishing.
That's awesome. That's
Thank you.
awesome. Do you have a boat?
I don't have a boat. We're in the process of thinking about getting a boat. I pitched creative finance to this guy on his boat. He can't sell it, but then I don't know.
I'll tell you,
I'm still a little torn about it.
yeah, yeah, I hear you. One of the businesses that I didn't realize can be so profitable are marinas.
Yes, so profitable.
Yeah, I met a fellow once at a PML mastermind, and he has two marinas, and that's all he did. And I was like, hmm, what's that like? He said, extremely profitable. So then he was talking about it, and I found it to be very interesting.
Yeah.
That people who have the money for boats, especially a nice boat, want and need for them to be protected and cared for. So having a boat is
And accessible,
ridiculously expensive because of how often you use it and how much it costs overall.
right. Well, I think the accessibility is like having your boat docked at a marina and being able to call and have them take your boat out and be able to get on the water. Most people who have the money to have a boat are also very busy because they're hard workers and make a lot of money. And so, going and picking up your boat and putting it on your trailer and then driving it and putting it in the water yourself and kind of all of those things becomes impractical. And so that's money that people are willing to spend.
Yep. Yep. But very, very interesting indeed. All right. So, can you talk just a little bit about, and I'm trying to think, is it the Bandana Ranch Project? Which one is associated with rooted in service, driven by heart? Which I just love that tagline.
That's Are you talking about my listing in Bandana Ranch?
I'm not sure. All I know is that you have a tagline that mentions rooted in service, driven by heart.
My
I
mom
said,
my mom came up with that, and so, yeah, I don't know that I'm glad that you mentioned that because that's something that I think is within the context of some of the stuff that I do, but I don't always talk about it as much as I should, so but I definitely do think that I am rooted in service. I really seek to help people whether I benefit from it or
I get it. And driven by heart for sure.
not.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Mentor?
Have done some I really enjoy mentorship. I also do some time management coaching, which has been really fun, and I've been able to help some cool people figure out harder situations within their time management. One thing is I am very busy, but I'm also very good at time management. So I love
You
mentoring
must
people.
be.
I think the season that I'm in right now doesn't have a whole lot of time to utilize mentorship, but I think that on a large level, I find helping people to be the most rewarding part of what I do.
Yeah. Yeah. I understand that too. Uh, or economically, it can come back to you because, like you said, business from the back seat of your Uber, you
Mhm.
know, uh, business from people in Subto. So it kind of comes back, but I do think that um, helping people is one of the most self-rewarding thing
I think so too. I think
for
so too.
sure. For sure. What advice would you give to someone who is just starting out
Just starting out.
in real estate?
Quit worrying about when the money is going to come in and put your nose to the grindstone and just keep working. Because I mean, I had nights where there have been seasons where I would sleep for like 4.5 hours. And do I necessarily recommend that? No. I mean, there's a lot of different philosophies. Like Pace, I think, sleeps like 4 hours a night, and he's quite successful. 4 hours is not my key point, but there have been times where it was like, do you really want this? And if so, how bad do you want it? Because if you don't, I mean, you may as well not waste your own time or other people's time if you don't really want it. So I think just having that undying sink or swim, let's do this and make it happen.
Hunger.
Yes, the hunger for it would
Yeah.
be really what I and someone who's new needs to figure out, do they have the hunger or not? And if the answer is not, that's okay. Find something that
Yeah,
you hunger for.
absolutely. Absolutely. And I think also it's not realistic to be into real estate for 2 or 3 months and say, hey, I've been in 100 days. Where's my deals?
My money. Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Or
It takes a long time.
it does take a long time, and you can think that, "Oh, this month I'm gonna bring in $200,000 and everything fall apart." Just so happens that everything falls apart for that whole month, and, just really being forward-minded. I think that Pace a few weeks ago was talking about how he's always thinking about the next step, the next plan. "Okay, we're doing this, but what's next?" And so being really forward-thinking, specifically your finances, that, "Okay, if everything I have falls through this month, is that going to completely stop me from being operational? And if the answer is yes, what do I need to do to make that answer
Exactly.
drive Uber?"
Exactly. So being able to see over the horizon.
Did you hear me? Drive Uber.
Exactly. I love it. I love it. Well, thank you, Erin, very, very much. And thank you for joining us here. We
Yes.
will
Thank
be
you so much
back again,
for me.
but this lady, you will see more of her.
Uh, Thank
So
that'd be so nice to see you. I'm so honored to be here.
thank you. Thank you, everyone. Take
Bye.
care.